The brain ain't braining. You need to work on these things. Maybe that's TMI, I'm very sorry. We're not gonna pretend that we need a reason to buy yarn anymore. We're finishing one right now. Is my cold making me delirious at this time? Maybe. Am I grouchy? I feel like I might be grouchy. Hello my friends, welcome to another video. If you are new here, my name is Chris. I make videos about my small crochet business, The Enchanted Skein, and balancing that with a full-time job and all the adulting and all those good things. If you are a returning crochet friend, welcome back. Thank you for being here again. And you may have noticed that we're at a slightly different angle than I usually record at. And that's because the video that I was planning to record today did not come to fruition. And that's because I usually try to plan out my videos, and there's sometimes, extra work that needs to happen as far as preparing for them, and I did not get around to that. I have been struggling these last few weeks, so I thought instead we're still going to sit down and we're going to record, but I've got some crochet here. We're going to do a little bit of crochet and chat and talk about why I've been struggling, because there are a lot of you that have mentioned in the comments that this is something you want to do as well, whether that's, starting a small business for crochet or doing videos, the whole nines. And this is just kind of some of the truth that comes along with doing this. There's, that thought that we want to be able to do it all. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. So I thought we would sit, chat, crochet, and I will share my woes with you because it is a form of therapy for me. So I think my challenges started a few weeks back, probably when I kind of came up with that list of things that I wanted to crochet for my market. And I think that's because that list was ambitious, which is fine. Like, I'm used to trying to crochet more than I can actually get done. And I think a lot of us do that. But what ended up happening was I told myself that I wanted to bring crochet products to my market at some point this year. It wasn't necessarily a goal per se, but it's been like itching in the back of my mind. And I decided, maybe I should wait until the fall markets, because at this point I only have 6 weeks. I think when I signed up, I had about 8 weeks to the market. And I was like, it's just not the focus. Like worry about what you got to worry about. So I had that list and I'm crocheting away, and my heart and soul is just beckoning to me to paint some safety eyes to bring to the market, to make cool packaging for said safety eyes, to, make one of the products that I've been wanting to make and, prototype it and finish it up and bring it and sell it there. And, eventually I want to make crochet kits and all the things, and again, we want to be able to do it all. But, can I sacrifice my crochet time to make these things, to shift my focus to these other things? So I was really struggling with that ever since, coming up with that list. And, I'm pegging away at it and it's fine. But there were a few days there where like my heart was not in it. And I'm somebody who may sound silly, may sound woo-woo, but I don't like to crochet if I'm in a really bad mood. I don't like to think of me having negative energy when I'm doing something. I like to make my stuff with love, with caring, making sure the quality is there. And I don't like to do it because I have to. I want to do it because I want to. And I decided, you know what? I need to figure something out, because my heart is telling me I need to work on these things. My brain is telling me you need to work on these things. So I decided that I would use my lunch hour for the last couple weeks to do that. So during my lunch hour, I would figure out, kind of what I wanted to do for my packaging, for safety eyes. I painted safety eyes. I actually did that one evening because I just could not crochet. I was like, nope, it's not happening anyway. So let me, put that energy into another area. So that's what I did. I did start balancing it. It does take away from the amount of things I'm going to make for the market, but part of me is okay with that. It's something that I'm really drawn to, and something is telling me to do this. So that's what I kind of started focusing on. Still getting stuff done. Obviously, you saw my makes last week. I have some makes to show you this week. We're finishing one right now. So in doing those things, I had to kind of figure out like, what is it that I'm gonna do? I know safety eyes for sure, and I wanted some cool packaging for my safety eyes. What else was I gonna bring? I didn't want it to just be safety eyes. So one of the products that I was working on trying to figure out, which is now in the hands of testers, so I'll know if that's viable. I might bring that. I wanted to have kind of like, I was considering calling it like a little crochet corner or something like that on my booth. Um, I could do Ami sticks, but I don't know that I want to do those. I'm not sure. I was thinking stitch markers because I already have the stuff to make stitch markers. So I'll probably do that. But yeah, so I'm planning on doing that as well, in addition to anything and everything I can get crocheted to take to the market. But that was kind of a struggle. I don't know if I would call it a struggle anymore. I've made peace with the fact that I may not be able to crochet as much of the items as I wanted because I'm spending time on those things. But I feel like that's okay. And yeah, like I said, I've made peace with that. So, but this past week I had to travel for work. And I say had to travel. It was actually a really good opportunity for me. I think I've talked about it before, but I'm in the kind of IT space. I do a lot with Microsoft tools, and I was invited to a conference that they were having, in Seattle. I live in South Florida, so clear across the country. And I knew I would have to kind of dedicate an entire Sunday to travel because, I need to be there for the Monday morning conference. So that is what I did this past Sunday. And I was kind of planning it almost as my own little personal retreat. So I was like, it's a 7-hour flight to get out there. I'm going to crochet on the plane. I bought one of those like space bags and like vacuum sucked all of my yarn. I wasn't bringing safety eyes or anything. I'll show you my makes this week, but the plan was to bring things that I could kind of make all the shells for and close them up once I got home kind of thing. No stuffing or anything like that. So that's what I did, and then each night of the conference, there weren't any plans for myself. Like I don't drink, I don't go to happy hours or any of that stuff. I planned on just like going back to my hotel room and crocheting the evenings away. So it was going to be like my own little retreat of being able to just crochet and chill. But things didn't work out that way. So the first evening, after the full day of travel, I went to go get some like supplies because I'm vegan and I knew that like their breakfasts and things like that they serve weren't gonna have vegan options. So I brought, some overnight oats and stuff, but I needed some almond milk and whatnot. So that evening I walked to a Trader Joe's, which was about a mile away, got my stuff, went back to the hotel, prepared everything. And by that time, I was just exhausted. I was trying to stay awake. They're 3 hours behind my normal time. And if you know anything about me, like I'm pretty good at getting to bed on time. I go to bed at like 9 o'clock because my body wakes up between 4 and 4:30 every morning. And that's that. Like I'm up. So it was a real struggle to stay awake. And then I was kind of paranoid that I wasn't going to wake up on time. So, I kept waking up in the middle of the night. And then, of course, I woke up at 1 in the morning that time, ready to be awake and go because it was for my time. So it was a struggle. But anyway, long conference days, they took a lot more out of me than I expected. Sitting and listening to keynote speakers and then doing a bunch of technical activities. And it was just a lot. So in the evenings, by the time they were actually done, they ended around 5:30 with travel and everything, grabbing a bite to eat and then getting back to my hotel. I was spent. Like there were a couple of nights where I tried, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of the struggles I had on the actual patterns when we get to the makes, but I was struggling. So I ended up just going to bed. And then the last morning of the conference, I woke up and I was sick. I had like a sore throat, full blown stuffy nose. I don't know if you can still hear it in my voice. I can hear it in my voice. I'm just still getting over it. I started feeling better yesterday, today's Saturday. So yeah, I was totally sick. And that was the hardest day because I did not want to embarrass myself by like dozing off while these keynote speakers are, you know, while these people are talking and doing their lectures and stuff. So, you know, I got cough medicine from the lobby of the hotel and went over to the Microsoft building and just did my best to not fall asleep, let alone take notes and pay attention. But so yeah, I got that kind of day out of the way. And then the plan originally was I was on a red-eye flight, and I used to travel all the time, and I can sleep on a moving vehicle like nobody's business. Like, it puts me to sleep. So I was like, I'm going to sleep on the plane. And then I was going to be landing the next day and getting home around 11 in the morning. And my plan was to like use the rest of the day for Enchanted Skein because I didn't have to work. It was a travel day. I will have slept on the plane, so I should be, you know, okay. I knew I'd be a little jet lagged, but when I got sick, that whole day just spiraled into misery. I got to the airport and was just exhausted. I thought, yes, I'm going to pass out on this plane. The pressure in the cabin did something to me because with the stuffiness and everything, my head was just like, I feel like I felt every heartbeat in my brain. And I could not sleep. Not to mention the guy sitting next to me. I was on the window seat so that I purposely got that so I could lean on the wall and sleep. So there was the guy that was in the middle seat, and, you know, he didn't do it on purpose, but he just, like, his arm kept falling off of his, what's the word? His arm kept falling off of his armrest over, like, for like a half a second, because he was falling asleep. And it just, I'm not a, like, I don't like people touching me. Like, no, like, unless I welcome it, you're not welcome to touch me. So it would just freak me out. So I think the combination of the pressure and just the fact that that kept happening, I just didn't, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep at all. So, not to mention, like, my backpack, I don't want to be gross, but my backpack was like just full of tissues. I took all the tissues from the hotel room and stuck them in my backpack, and I had to buy more tissues at the airport. So yeah, it was gross. Anyway, maybe that's TMI. I'm very sorry. But yeah, I was not good. So I got home, and mind you, I was starving because I didn't find very much that I could eat at the airport. So I got home and I made lunch. I jumped in the shower. I laid on the couch and I passed out. So that entire day that I thought I was going to crochet and work on my product package for my eyes, yeah, I just slept. And the next day I had to work. And when I was done with work, I just slept again. Like, I just didn't have, I had nothing left in me. That was a struggle. And then, like I said, yesterday was Friday. I had to work. I started feeling a little bit better. And last night I was able to finish up a couple of the things that I had started, basically kind of stuffing and sewing everything together from what I made. But it's nowhere near what I wanted to have made. And I don't have any product stuff. So it just felt like really frustrating because it's like, okay, yes, if I sacrifice makes so that I can make something else, you know, like safety eyes to sell or whatever, at least it's still like a productive thing. Whereas this week just felt like, you know, I don't know. And it's because I was sick, and that's fine. And I know that, but I also know that other people are like this too. Like, you still just, you kind of beat yourself up when you shouldn't. So yeah, that has kind of been my struggle. You know, there aren't enough hours in the day. I do not do this full time. Like I said, I have a full-time job, so it's not, you know, where you can just readily be able to do whatever you need or want to do when you need or want to do it. So yeah, I figured, you know, we'll talk about that for a little bit. I would share my woes. I also have a yarn haul. I ordered some yarn from Premier, mostly because, well, I guess for two reasons, really. I did want to get more Goblin in the Parfait Chunky, but I also needed more gray yarn for some of the things that I want to make for my market. So I have some patterns that I've had for a while for some of the splooters from Snugglebeans Crochet. I have the mouse, I have the bunny, I think I have like a fox and a wolf or something, but I have a few of them, and they're all characters that I wanted to see in my enchanted forest on my table. But even more so for spring, I think like the bunny and stuff are going to be things that, you know, will catch people's interest. So I definitely want to do that. I think I want to make a bunny out of, I don't know if you can see behind me, the Target yarn that I showed you guys last week. Was it last week? I can't be sure. Um, but I was thinking I would use that one pastel color to make one of the splooting bunnies in the pastel color, like that variegated, and see how it comes out. I think that might be really pretty. So I want to do that, but I definitely needed gray. I know I want to do the mouse in gray. I was thinking I want to do, you know, the wolf. I think I have a wolf, and there were a few things, and I needed some grays. So I wanted to get some Premier Basics in gray because I normally would use a Bernat blanket, but for whatever reason, the last two skeins that I had of the gray color were almost, I don't know if the word is tattered. It was like a little bit shaggier than usual and thinner, almost, you know, like when you get a bad skein of the mystical. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but yeah, it was just not great. And when I was at Michael's, I was looking at their gray color, and it just wasn't the tone of gray that I wanted. So those two factors, I decided, let me just go ahead and order Premier Basics. I originally didn't like that yarn as much as I liked Bernat. I felt like Bernat was a little smoother, but the more I use it, the more I kind of like that it's like furry looking, even though it's not fur. I don't know, am I making sense? Is my cold making me delirious at this time? Maybe, I don't know. I'm almost over it though. I feel pretty good today, which is nice to finally feel good. But yeah, so I have a yarn haul. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. I thought I was going to run my mouth long enough to finish this entire thing, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So what I'm probably going to do is go ahead and grab my makes for the week so I can show you those, and then we can jump into the yarn haul. No, let's do the yarn haul first. But let me finish this row so I can mark off that I'm done. And then, yeah, I'll grab the yarn and then I'll show you that. And I also am noticing that today I cannot crochet without looking. A lot of times when I'm sitting there just doing rows like this, I'm fine with not looking, but the brain ain't braining. So that's going to be fun. But today, after I do the video, I'm going to work on the packaging. Yeah. All right, let me grab the yarn so I can show you what I bought. All right, we have a box today because it was enough to fill a box. And I will say I'm really bummed. Like I tried to wait. I think I waited 2 weeks to order this when I finally did place the order because I was really waiting for what I wanted to go on sale, and it was not going on sale. So yeah. All right. Ooh, they really stuffed it in here. Okay. So I did get some Premier Basics chenille in tie-dye. I've never had this before. I wanted to get this because I do want to make some unicorns and maybe, you know, some colorful dragons. Clearly, I just got all of that kind of similar colored stuff from Target, so I probably did not need this anymore, but we bought it. So this is the color Flower Child. This is the color Peace and Love. And this is the color Groovy Glow. I just got one of each of these because I was not sure I was going to like it. I really like the way it feels though, so pretty happy with that. It almost feels as soft as the other ones that I got from Target. So Premier Parfait Chunky, I got 3 of the Goblin, which I mentioned, you know, I needed. I got 3 in the color Sage. This is a new color for me. I don't know if the lighting does it justice, but it's a really beautiful kind of green. So that is good. I also got 3 in pistachio. I've been using a lot of pistachio lately. I don't know, you can't see it, but I've been using a lot of pistachio lately. I really, really love this color too. So I guess I'm in my green era here. And then I got 3 of the color marshmallow. So I showed you guys, I've been using a lot of this for mushroom type characters, and I know I have more on my list. So I did get 1 skein in seal. I already have 1 or 2 more of this, but I did, I think I threw this one in to end up with free shipping, but yeah, we got it. And last but not least, the grays that I mentioned in the Premier Basics. So this is the color Fog. I got 3 skeins of this. Wow, this stuff is way softer than the stuff I got last time. I don't know what they're doing, but I like it. And then I got 3 in seal, no, pewter. Let's feel this one. That feels really nice too, but I thought these grays would make a much better, you know, splooting mice and, you know, the wolf and maybe a gray bunny and stuff like that. So pretty happy with that yarn haul. Where am I going to put it? I don't know. We're not going to pretend that we need a reason to buy yarn anymore. I'm over it. We're just buying it when we want it. All right, let me grab my makes for the week so I can show you those. All right, I have my little crate here. Before we jump into this week's makes, am I grouchy? I feel like I might be grouchy. Let me know if I'm grouchy. I'm sorry if I'm grouchy, but I have a beef with patterns in general, or pattern prices, I should say. So there is a make, I'm not gonna mention whose or whatever, but there's something that I saw someone doing a pattern test for, and it's not something that would usually be in my repertoire, but I was like, that's really cute. I think I'm gonna buy that pattern, even if just for myself to make myself one, or I know it's a make that my sister would absolutely love. I'm gonna buy that pattern when it comes out. The pattern was finally released the other day, and I went online and went over to Etsy. Now, this is a thing that is basically a blob with bobble feet, bobble arms, a small accessory, nothing difficult. As a matter of fact, that accessory is available on free patterns all over the place. So my expectation was $3, $5 max. This pattern was $7. And I'm by no means a cheapo. Like, I don't mind paying for someone's effort and their work. But that was really expensive for what this pattern is. And I'm just kind of like, I know Etsy takes fees. I know, you know, but if I can buy a pattern that is an intricate dragon, you know, or a Snugglebeans splooter pattern, like that has a lot of depth and a lot of parts and a lot of information. This pattern, again, is like a little potato with bobble arms and feet. Like, there is not a lot to it. It is the kind of pattern that I would buy to just not have to bother thinking about making it, but I can completely 100% make it without a pattern. And I just was like, I was just really annoyed by it. I don't know why. Again, maybe I'm grouchy. Let me know if I'm grouchy. I'm sorry if I'm grouchy. But yeah, it just frustrated me. And I didn't buy it because I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm really not. Like, I don't mind supporting other creators, but it needs to be reasonable too. Like, it was just not. So anyway, aside from that, let's talk about this week's makes. This week, I did a bit of a mashup, but both / all of the patterns are by the same creator, all by Crochet by BT. And you've seen me make the string of pearls pattern before, the little plant. I loved that. And I mentioned on another video that I want to make some more similar plants. So I went looking on their shop because I wanted them to be relatively the same size. And Crochet by BT had another pattern bundle called Little Leaf Garden. Now, as you can see, the body of the Little Leaf Garden, guys, is different than the string of pearls. So I decided to do the mashup in the sense that I made the body of the string of pearls and was doing the toppers from the little leaf garden. That way they could all kind of be the same in their little pots, and that's actually what we were crocheting a minute ago. I'm missing a pot for one of them, so I will finish this after the video. But that's what I did. So let me show you the first one. So this is one of the cactuses from that pattern. They called for worsted weight yarn for the little accents, but I wasn't going to go buy a skein of yarn for that. And I did some little hand painted eyes to kind of match, and these little terracotta pots so they can just sit like that. And I love these. I love these so much. It's got the little flower on top. The one beef, because I'm cranky, that I had with this pattern is that it was like, glue the cactus on, glue the flower on. And I'm like, what? You know, there's a time and place for gluing stuff. I have no problem with that. But this kind of shape, to try to glue that onto this, it just didn't make sense to me. And to glue the flower on, like, it just took a couple minutes to sew it. And I just think that that's much better quality. So that's what I did. But yeah, that was kind of like a little bit frustrating. The one thing I would do differently in the future on this is, so let's talk about the yarn because I always forget. 5.5mm hook, Parfait Chunky, and this is Juicy Couture yarn. And it's kind of got a glitz to it. I don't know if the camera picks it up. And Parfait Chunky for everything else. But this yarn is so kind of luxurious that you lose the ridges. And I think that if I would have done this in a Parfait Chunky, if I had Goblin, which I now do, I would have done it in Goblin. I think it would have looked cooler because you could see the ridges better. I don't know if the camera picks up the ridges. But yeah, they kind of lose themselves because this is luxurious, but that's okay. He's adorbs, love him. I'm going to set him aside and keep his pot for the other guy, so because I'm missing a pot. So the second one was another cactus. This is the star cactus. That's this guy. I'm reusing the other pot for the moment because his pot is in the making. Some hand-painted eyes for him as well. His little smile. He's got his little flower. This was really cool the way this was done. Each of these is done separately, and then you stuff them and then, you know, essentially kind of sew them together or tack them together. But again, it was like, glue it on. Like, I'm not gluing it on. The one thing I forgot too is I think when I was making the body as string of pearls, I added an extra stitch to the bobble because I felt like they were small, and I wish I'd have written that in my pattern, and I didn't, so I did that this time. I would have liked to have made these bobbles a little bit bigger, but they're still adorable. But yeah, these guys are super cute, so they will go with the string of pearls on the table. And then last but not least was a ficus of the plants, was a ficus plant. In the pattern, this called for like wire to make this stand up and everything. I was like, no. I just made a shorter one to kind of look like bangs. And when he's in the pot, it's just overflowing like that. And I left it at that. I didn't want to put wiring in it. I just think he's cute as is. So again, hand-painted eyes for him, all Parfait Chunky. I did have a little bit of Goblin that I used for this, and that was the last of what I had. But yeah, so those were kind of the mashup. Again, I'm finishing the one pot for the third guy that I didn't have a pot for, and that'll be done today. And then the other thing that I started making two of, one is on my hook still, is the Chonky cats, those little gumdrop cats that I've made before. And these are by Crochet Studio US Art. And I love these guys because they're kind of a different take on a loaf cat. They sit really cute. I think they're adorable. I did some hand-painted eyes that are that kind of cat shape, reptile shape. These guys are something that people like on the table. He's got his little tail. So this was a scrap buster for me. I had a little bit of this Bernat Mystical, so I used that 6.5mm hook here. And then I just used, I think it's Bernat Velvet to just make a little nose and some worsted weight to give him some whiskers. I have another one on my hook that's in white. And I will finish that today as well. So all in all this week, I got 3 potted plants done, which were the last 3 I needed on my list. And I got 2, well, by the end of today, I will have these things done. 2 of the Chonky Gumdrop Cats, which satisfies that off the list. It's fine. It's not what I had hoped, but these are the things that happen. I can't avoid getting sick. Travel just took a lot out of me, so here's where I'm at. I hope today's video wasn't too much of a downer. I just thought, you know what? I want to share how I'm feeling now because these are the things that happen and they're normal. And I'm telling myself this just as much as I'm telling you this. It happens. We're human. We have the good days, we have the bad days. We will get through them one way or the other. I'm happy to report I'm feeling much better today. I am going to take rest when I need it, but I also have a lot of things that I want to get done on the checklist. So we'll see how much of that I can get done. I will be sure to share all of that with you next week. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.